Hello everyone. Today's video is another locomotive that I like a lot. It's a Chesapeake and Ohio, or C&O E8 number 4010. It's Mike's Train House. It's one of their later versions. I think it has the second generation PS2 sound, and real nice model, nice heavyweight, runs like a top, uh, has a lot of pull power for a single engine. I don't have that big a track, so it really doesn't matter. I can't put that many cars behind it. But I thought I would show you this tonight. Put a 12-inch scale out there and show you the size of the engine. It's O scale, 3-rail. This is not one of the 323s or 3-2 operations where it can either be 3-rail or 2-rail. Always liked the C&O version of the E8, along with so many other beautiful paint jobs on E8s. A lot of people like the UP and the Santa Fe. I also like the Rhode Island Rocket and a few other ones that are out there. Mike's Train House did the E7 and the E8, very nicely done. I think they even did a E6 maybe, but I just wanted to bring this out because basically I do like locomotives, trains, O scale, do some in scale, but this is a beautiful engine. Let's see if I can drag this thing around to make a 360 view out of it. It's a nice side view. Get a little more light on it. It's got a metal grill on the side, and overall seems pretty close to scale. It's not a real runner. I just put the lid on it a few minutes ago. Trying to get the plug back in and everything in spot. I was working on it a little bit. But Mike's Train House did a really nice job on this thing. It's nowhere near, if you deal with people who have 2-rail layouts and do scale locomotives made out of brass and from overseas, Korea or Japan, no, these bodies don't compare. But when you can no longer afford that kind of stuff, then these do very well. I like them. I think these engines were probably, I don't know, you see today's locomotives and they're all freight passenger based, freight engines, no passengers. The big SD70s and the ES44s, they're very pretty, beautiful engines, powerful, but I like the old cab type engines. I've always tried to look on YouTube for old railway films from the 50s and 60s. Some of them you can catch in color. Makes them very nice to see. And travel back in those days was pretty much you got dressed up to travel, either in the air or on land and locomotives, passenger trains. It was strictly for, you know, the upper East Coast and stuff. It was a lot of businessmen going back and forth to work. Otherwise, going across the country, it was mostly families. I do see some of those films which sort of crack me up. People put a 8-year-old kid on a streamliner heading out west, and sort of basically leave the porters and everyone else to watch the kid for 2 or 3 days while they get from one side of the country or from Chicago to San Francisco or LA or somewhere out there. Just goes to show you how safe things were back then, and what we're missing today. If I can give you a halfway decent front view on it. But I've only seen one E8. It's actually running today, and it's very impressive. It seems bigger than today's modern diesels because I guess, but it's not any longer, or if it is, it's only by a little teeny bit. But when you're standing next to one of these things, it seems to be a behemoth. I think the most it had was probably 2,000 horsepower, and they used to lash them together in sets up to 4. You'd have 2 A's and 2 B units, and then sometimes for lighter passenger you would have just 2 A units. But they were big and beautiful, and color schemes were fantastic. The Southern Pacific had a pretty one. Well, they were all just about. Well, they're top of the line service, so they went the extra mile and put the paint jobs on them, passenger cars. I guess later on in the late 40s, maybe early 50s, they went to those all aluminum passenger cars and stepped up the bare metal and paint jobs on them. Quite memorable is seeing pictures of them. Only saw E7s and E8s as a kid in town at the train station for a short period of time. I think by about 67, 68 they were gone in just about everywhere. The paint jobs on the last version for the C&O were nowhere near as beautiful as this, but it was an error, and pulling into a big station, going inside and seeing the grandeur of a lot of the stations that were across the country was a neat thing. Back then you didn't think nothing about it, but now when you look back at it, some of the stations are still around. Of course, you got the big one in New York and a couple other ones, but today's stations don't seem to be anywhere like what you used to be able to get. So if you do have a large station in your city and they've restored it or worked it into some other kind of a business complex, but the main hall is still available, or maybe some of the pathways down to where the trains would pull in, it's well worth going to see, to sort of show you what travel was back in those days. Well, I hope you enjoyed what you saw. Thank you for taking a look. If you like what you saw, please hit the like button. Let YouTube know that somebody's enjoying them. And thank you very much. You all have a good evening. Be safe. Talk to you all later. Bye.